Welcome to the all-new Relentless Podcast. We are here to help you take your mindset, your business, and your life to the next level. My name's Andy Anderson, and I'm with the Lord of Lords, Matt Lavars. How are you, my brother?
I'm good, man. I appreciate that intro.
Do you like that? I surprised you with it, though, didn't I?
Well, I liked it, but because the one we practiced just a second ago, you called me a goat, and I was expecting you to do it again.
The goat of goats,
the goat of goats. Oh man, I'm pumped to be here, and thank you so much to everyone for joining in and being a part of this. As Andy said, we're really committed to being able to help you take your life, your business, your relationships, all of it to the next level, and we're excited to be doing this together. It's an epic union.
It's an epic union of goats and lords, and we've been excited, man, to do this for ages, right? People don't know. People see these two good-looking guys, and they see this beautiful
one good-looking guy.
That's right.
It's you.
Appreciate you, brother. And they think this is just so easy, but trust me, my friends, it has been a challenge to get us here. But we are here, and I tell you what, I'm excited because number one, I love podcasting. Number two, I love talking and inspiring with my bro, Matty Lavars. And number three, I feel like our message right now is so needed everywhere. And I've got a lot of gifts to share. And we have buddy. A special guest on our first episode.
This is my son, Noah. What's up, Noah? How you doing?
Noah's in the house.
Dad's
hey,
recording
buddy.
A podcast. I might need you to come grab him if that's okay. Say hello to everybody.
Hey, Noah. Hey.
Thank you, brother.
Noah's our secret business weapon.
So you can watch the recording.
People don't realize, but we do believe in slave labor, child slave labor.
He does the editing for the podcast.
That's right. He's the producer of the show. But my man, so good to have you on board, and so good to have you here spitting some truth with me. You and me have been doing some awesome things in the background, haven't we, brother, for a little while now? And now we're really here to just help inspire people to really step it up, especially going into next year, 2023. We've had a wild ride the last few years, and we've got a lot of gifts and lessons to share.
Yeah, definitely. I think that in a changing climate, especially COVID hit hard, and politics has been crazy, and COVID, and the world is changing so much. And I think one of the things that is really important is to be able to create like a stable foundation of success in your life, and to be able to take control of your life, your relationships, your fitness, your business. And it's why one of the things that we do together is we run business coaching, because we believe so much in the freedom that it gives people to run their own business instead of being stuck in jobs they don't like, or in a changing financial climate, or in just the confusion around who men should be, who women should be in today's world. And so really looking forward to seeing how much of a difference we can make through this podcast. And also, we probably can't talk about it yet, but I know we have some massive guests coming up soon, which are going to be awesome to be able to interview on the podcast, which will take this to a whole other level.
So true. So if you're watching this and you love business, you love marketing, sales, you love mindset, you love health and fitness, you just love personal development and peak performance in general, then you're going to love our new podcast. We're going to have a lot of fun. I mean, all we do is talk about the way we live our lives and the things that we do, and the results that we get in these different facets, and how you can model it, incorporate into your life, and start to see some incredible results as well. So again, crew, we're so pumped to be here. So stoked that you're listening, and we really hope that you get some massive value out of it.
100%. As Andy and I were thinking about the creation of this podcast and what we wanted to do with it, I really love the name Relentless. Andy and I have known each other for, I think it's just over 10 years now, isn't it?
Yeah.
Just over 10 years, and we've both seen each other win, and we've seen each other lose in different ways, and we've seen each other pick ourselves back up and succeed again. And I think
pick
one of the
each other
things,
back up.
pick each other back up. Hell yeah. Hell
Right.
yeah. And I think one of the things that really stands out and something that we really connect with is you've got to have an attitude of being relentless in whatever you apply it to. And like to me, and we're going to unpack that today. Like, what does it mean? What's the art of being relentless? One of the things that like truly stands out to me is the importance of commitment. So it's, for example, like take your health seriously, commit to it. Take your relationships seriously, commit to them. Take your friendships seriously, take your business seriously. And I think that the more commitment that we give to things, the more seriously we take things, the more of a return that we get back from it. And so that's kind of what we're going to unpack today in today's podcast is what is the art of being relentless? What does it actually mean? And what are some great examples of how we've been applying it to our lives over the last 10 years and how we live it every day?
Yeah, I agree. Look, I think no matter what category of life you're talking about, but especially if you're an entrepreneur in this day and age and you've been through everything that's happened the last couple of years with COVID, and there's been so many different challenges economically, financially, from a government and social level as well. I think that the mindset of being relentless is so important now more than ever. And I guess, over the last few years, a lot of people have been tested more than they ever have before to truly see if they are relentless or not. And if they are going to continue to push forward in the face of adversity, in the face of challenge, in the face of criticism, in the face of shutdowns and lockdowns and whatever may come your way. And I know for me personally, it's been a season of constant flexing the relentless mindset and moments of challenge and struggle and moments of wins and, being proud and everything in between. But if I didn't consciously for a very long time work on living and breathing a relentless way of life, I would have struggled a lot more than I did over the last few years. And so, I guess going into this new season and going into this new year and being an entrepreneur or an athlete or whoever you are listening to this, I think if you can first understand that having a relentless mentality and mindset, you're not born with it. It can be developed and it is developed. And if you have that belief and understanding from the get-go, you can take, again, your mindset and your life through the ups and downs of life and win. And even in bad times, you can win. And in the good times, you'll win even more. But if you don't have that foundational mentality of being relentless, unfortunately, you will take the knee in hard times. You will crumble in hard times. You won't step up in hard times.
100%. One of the things that I wanted to start talking about that I think is an attitude that allows us to do what you're talking about is optimism. And I want to open up to a bit of a conversation around like what it is, what it isn't, how it gets misunderstood. From a positive psychology perspective, positive psychology says that if you're an optimist, you're going to do better in life. And then I think there's something called like toxic optimism, where it's like you just only see the good and you don't acknowledge what sucks, so you don't give yourself an opportunity to kind of grieve and heal and process stuff. And that's not what I'm talking about, because I think that you got to take time to stop and to heal and to grieve when you need to grieve, and go through stuff and face the challenges of life, because that's a big part of growing as a person. You got to take stock. You can't just keep on going. My favorite metaphor for this is fitness. It's one of the things that I love sharing with you is our love for fitness. It's like you can't just train all the time and not rest. If you train hard, you got to rest hard. So you can't just be optimism. You can't just be an optimist all the time. You've also got to take stock and be like, all right, well, that sucked. My friend just passed away, or I just lost a relationship, or I need to face that I was wrong, or something like that. But where optimism, I think, is a must-have in what you were talking about when it becomes to being relentless, and this is something that we both share, is from the beginning, you have to develop the mindset that no matter what happens, we will find a way through this.
Mm.
And I think that's something that, we've always fought for. That through COVID, we were like, we'll find a way. What the hell is going to happen? We'll find a way.
Yeah.
I had IBS. I've still got IBS problems, but at least I can train and everything now. But I couldn't train for 5 years. But I never gave up. I never said, I've met people that have just got, I've got IBS. I just eat pizza every day. Who cares? You can't solve it. It's this attitude of, there's got to be a way. There's got to be a way out of this. There's got to be something we can do.
Yeah, absolutely, bro. And not only that, there's got to be a way through this, but also come out the other end better. And I also love, again, as you mentioned, there's, I guess, a toxic side to being over-optimistic. And what I think that is where people are just too naive, where they are over-optimistic and then they are basing their decision-making process purely on optimism, which can then absolutely lead you to some huge issues. Now, especially in business, that is for damn sure, because business is the process of optimistic vision and also mitigating risk. And if you're just fully in optimism realm and zone and you're not looking at the risk and the challenge and the potential threats, then you are absolutely going to lose at some point. There is no way that you can sustain that for a lifetime and not lose at some point if you haven't considered the risks and the threats and I guess the negative sides as well. And guess what? Sometimes you've got to learn that the hard way, as did I. I'm a very optimistic mother bibber, that's for damn sure. I'm positive.
Man,
everybody knows this, but
I like
sometimes.
That. I think that's a really good view to add on to it, is be an optimist, always find a way, but that doesn't mean that you see the world through sunshine and rainbows.
That's right.
And you are just like, everything's going to be okay. So it's also developing the grit and determination to be able to look forward and be like, that's going to suck. This is a problem. What do we do about it?
Yeah, absolutely. And then I think that's where the optimistic person matures. It's almost like a life cycle. Potentially at the start of being, in my book I write about relentless optimism. And I'm constantly talking about, no matter what happens, to have that relentless optimism within you to make sure that you can push through and get to the other side. But I think as that human develops and goes through trial and error, you mature, you're able to hold on to that optimistic mindset and utilize it to your advantage, but make better decisions because you are well aware of the risks, the threats, and the potential downfalls in business or in life. And I think that's it's a maturity factor that we all have to go through. Sometimes you can't learn that via reading a book. Sometimes you have to, I don't know about you guys, and I wish I wasn't like this, but I have to feel the pain sometimes. I've got to feel those lessons. I tell you what, I'm good at that. I'm good at that.
We have to feel it. You're right. I just wrote down, I can handle it. That's what it reminds me of. It's one of the ways that I like to think about self-esteem. It's the amount of self-esteem you have is the amount of how much of an ability you have to handle the challenges, or maybe not even ability, but confidence in your ability to find a way to deal with the challenges. And like the only way that you can handle challenges is through handling challenges. So you have to sign up for challenges. It's why I just love fitness so much as a metaphor. Like, I'm so biased on it, but I think every single man on the planet should lift weights as seriously as they possibly can. One, for the health benefit, but two, for the metaphor that it teaches you to constantly face challenge, or do jiu-jitsu, or do boxing, and same for women as well. Do something physically challenging that forces you to think that you can't make it and then find a way through at the end. And then I think every single time we do that, you kind of surprise yourself. Like, you guys met Noah, my beautiful boy. So he's just about to turn 2. And my daughter will be born in end of Jan. And so, man, the amount of pressure that I can handle now, 2 years into being a parent, is, I don't know, probably like 20 times the amount of pressure that I could handle before I was a dad. You know, it freaked me out when I first became a dad. I was just like, how do I look after a child and run a business and look after everything? But you adapt. And I think one of the most important things is having the mindset that you will adapt. It's like, I'm not going to be overwhelmed by, I won't be defeated. That's what it is. I won't be defeated by this thing. It might knock me down. It might take me out. I might have moments, dark night of the soul, and I might get sick, but I'll rebuild. And I think that's part of that relentless optimism. It's like, all right, well, it's like, I love that Australian inspirational speaker, Nick V. He's got no arms and legs.
Yeah.
It's like, imagine the moment when he was like, all right, I've got no arms and legs. I still got a torso and a voice and a heart and a mind. Game on. Let's go. Let's build a family.
Looking at the assets he does have. Yeah.
Yeah.
But bro, it's so true, man. I want to hone in on that point that you brought up around confidence, because I think having that relentless optimism, that optimistic mindset, or just being relentless in any regard, you're right, it does take a level of confidence. And there's a huge difference between, the ability to push forward and find a way, and then, of course, the application of pushing forward and finding a way. And I think you can only have confidence with the application, not the ability or your sense of ability, right? So every time I look at, the fitness metaphor, or, we both love skydiving. We've skydived for this reason. Jiu-jitsu.
I don't know if I love it. I think
One
you
of us
love
loves
it. Like, I've done it a couple of times now.
100%. But bro, let's face it. That scared the shit out of me, and that was one of my biggest fears
Me
ever.
too.
But the point of me doing that was, I was sitting there and I was thinking, I need to prove to myself that I can defeat anything, even the fear and the demons within me. I need to prove to myself and be proud of myself, and I'm going to show myself that I can do it via this mode, and via jiu-jitsu, or via boxing, or via working out. And I think that if you're watching this and you're like, how do I start to gain the confidence that I can see a problem through, or I can see a business through, or a project to completion, or I can build the body or the life of my dreams? It's not about chunking straight up to the final win and the biggest vision. It's about the daily ability and application of laying brick by brick, confidence by confidence, through the acts of proving to yourself that you are that human that can do it, that you are someone that can face your fears, that can handle stress, that can handle challenge at levels that most people can't even fathom. And once you start to do that, you will start to gain confidence in yourself to do things that most people can't even bring themselves to dream of. And that, my friends, is freaking powerful. That is where the relentless mentality truly starts to yield big rewards.
Yeah, I really love what you just said. And it's one of the things that I always teach whenever I'm doing a training around this. Confidence is equal to the level of competence that you have in that area.
Yes.
And the mistake that we make is we look at someone who's confident and then we go, well, they've obviously got more confidence than us. If I had the amount of confidence that they had, I would be able to do the things that they have. Therefore, I can't do the things that they have because I don't have the confidence. And I think it's just a mistake in our thinking. Instead of realizing that person had to go do a bunch of stuff without feeling confident to then earn the competence, as in like, oh, I can do it.
Yes.
I pulled it off, and then you get the confidence. Like, there's something in that. There's something in this that's really important as well. I think you said in the beginning around I've got to feel it. From an emotional resilience perspective, the more that you feel fear and integrate it and accept it, the more fear you can handle. So the more that you become friends with your anxiety and learn to hold it and deal with it, not by suppressing it, but by allowing it and I can handle this, then you can handle more. Like I remember the first time I went skydiving, I was 25 or something. And like at that point, I was so afraid of going skydiving. And I kind of suppressed it, so I didn't really integrate the lesson. So when I was coming out of the plane, I didn't even look down. So I was just like looking up, totally afraid. Like I just kind of like landed on the ground. I'm like, I did it. But you inspired me to go again recently. And so I went with a really close friend of mine and we did it a month or so ago. And this time I was just like, I'm just going to face the fear and see how much of the fear I can handle. So like when the door opened, I like looked down straight away.
Yes,
and I just like kept my eyes open, you know, when I like let out like a roar. I was like, ah! You know, like it was this adrenaline rush.
Yes.
And because I allowed myself to feel the fear so much, it's like I integrated it. And now I am actually like measurably, like I can feel it slightly less, I'll say slightly less afraid of doing it again. Like I've integrated some of that fear. I've got a level of competence. I could do that again. And if I did it again and again and again and again, I know that eventually I would have no fear whatsoever. And I would just jump out of the plane like the guy who's, directing me.
So true. And I think you hit the nail on the head, man. The way to overcome fear of taking action, of doing the thing that you know you need to do but you're afraid to do in any capacity, relationships, business, fitness, whatever it may be, the only way to truly condition yourself to be able to consistently do it at a competent level, calm, secure, confident, ready to go, is to immerse yourself and to do it. It's progressive overload. So again, progressively overloading yourself so you get stronger, just like in the gym when you're hitting the weights. The first time you do weights, you're so freaking sore you want to die. The next time it gets easier and easier, and as you keep going, all of a sudden your body adapts, you start to look good, feel good, and it gets better and better. And again, that metaphor or that philosophy rings true in so many other categories of life. And again, I think that part of being relentless in your business, in your relationships, in your life right now, it's about you understanding that you need to start doing the things that you don't want to do. Not once, not twice, but every fucking day, in order to callous yourself. And I talk about callousing myself a lot because I've spent the last 2 years spending a lot of time focusing on my weaknesses, on the things I'm not happy with, the things I want to be stronger at, and choosing to callous them day in and day out so I can try my very best to be the best version of myself moving forward in this new chapter of life. And again, I'm telling you from experience that the more you apply this in your daily grind, in your daily hustle, in your daily habits and rituals, the faster you will earn the right to be relentless. You will earn the right to be confident. You will earn the right to live the life that you want to live.
I really love that. That's epic what you just said. All right. So one of the things that I want to bring up, people ask me this stuff a lot. It's like, if I'm in a training, I'll be like, what do you think you need to succeed in business? And 9 times out of 10, people will say self-belief. You need self-belief. And it's an interesting thing because, yeah, you do. You eventually get self-belief, but it's this long process of earning self-belief by doing things that you don't believe you can do. And I think that process is so important for people to understand. Like, comparison is a really bad thing. You compare yourself to someone else and you're like, oh, they've got more confidence, they've got more self-belief, I can't do what they can do. That's just, it gets completely incorrect. Instead, what's really important is to understand that the people that have the most amount of success have faced the most amount of challenge, or the people that have the most amount of success have faced the most amount of doubt. You know, like people say to me sometimes, oh, I'm still doubting myself. And I'm kind of like, me too.
Like, no shit.
But let's just move forward. Right? I think that one of the mistakes when it comes to success is people create an ideal in their mind, and they think that someone who's crushing it in life or in business or in fitness, like, never has a bad day, never doubts themselves anymore, never thinks that they can't, you know, they just live in this life where they've arrived in like intense confidence. And maybe, you know, movies, you know, movie stars that we see maybe probably make that worse because they idealize the perfect like character of just like, what's up? Like, I know the answers to everything. Where I think the reality is that it's more that we face constant challenges on a regular basis. We doubt our ability sometimes to handle it, but we just consistently show up. And one of the things that I wrote down when you were speaking is the importance of discipline as a habit. Prioritizing that instead of how do I get more self-belief? How do I get more self-belief? Or how do I get more confidence? Business and fitness are great examples. To succeed in business and to succeed in fitness, you have to consistently do things that you don't want to do on a regular basis. And sometimes you want to do those things, right? Like, for example, it's like, we love this stuff. We could do, imagine if all we had to do well in business was do podcasts. Like, it'd be like heaven. It'd be amazing. But sometimes you got to do stuff you don't like. And in the beginning, maybe you don't know anything about marketing. So you got to study marketing for like an hour every single day. And then you got to stuff around with technology you don't understand. And you got to write emails and you got to do social media posts. And then you got to work out how to like hire a VA and then train them. And you don't know what you're doing. And with fitness, you know, sometimes you have to start running and then you suck at running and then your knees hurt and then you have to stretch more. And then you have to eat more, and then, you know, you got to put in more effort to prepare your food and blah, blah, blah. But we get great results when we prioritize great habits inside our life. And I think one of the most important habits is discipline. And I would even go as far as saying, I reckon I'm a pretty lazy person. Like, my default is laziness. Like, I would just sit on the couch and do nothing if I didn't whip myself into gear, if that kind of makes sense. Like, if I didn't, one of the things that I do on purpose is I sign up for as much responsibility as I possibly can. I want to get involved in situations where I'm responsible. Like, I have to show up to my clients. I have to show up to my business. I have to show up to my family. I've got to be part of my communities, because otherwise I just do nothing. And if I force myself to be disciplined and create habits, all of the sudden it's like I've become someone that I think is half decent. You know, it's like I'm proud of a bunch of things that I've done, which is great, and I've made heaps of mistakes, but I'm definitely not wallowing in self-pity because I'm wishing, waiting, and hoping for stuff to get better instead of actually just making it better.
Yeah, very true, brother. And I agree. Look, discipline is foundational to being great in all those aspects of life. And I'll bring it back to just what you were saying before about people often saying, you know, I'm doubting myself or waiting for that moment or having a standard where once they reach that moment of never doubting themselves or completely feeling confident that they will have then made it. And newsflash, you should never fucking get there, ever. Like, you should never get there. Why? Because if you're truly living your purpose and making an impact, every time you hit that ceiling of accomplishment, you're only going to the next level, right? And so imposter syndrome. Man, I aim to feel like an imposter every day of the week because every time I take shit to a new level, I'm like, I love it. How the fuck do I do this? Like, we just created a TV show.
How am I pulling this off?
100%, man. It's like, when I was an author or when I created a TV show. We just launched this TV show, and I was a producer of the show, and I had no freaking clue what was going on.
Shout out to you, though, by the way. And if people haven't seen it, go to, what is it, 7 Plus?
7 Plus, Change
7
Labs.
Plus, Change Labs. Check out the show, man. Like, massive, I've said this to you before, but massive shout out. Like, I remember telling my wife about it because every time I call Andy, he answers the phone by going, "What's up, brother?" He's like, got the most amount of energy out of anyone that I've ever met. And so my wife's getting to know Andy, and I'm like, oh, he just produced a TV show as well. She's like, what? I'm like, yeah, he's just keeps on going to the next level. What's the next level? What's the next level? What's the next level? And I think it's important to remember that everyone who did anything great at some point had never done it.
Correct.
You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah. You don't go into these things knowing everything and, just having the confidence, having the know-how. In fact, my whole philosophy on life is the opposite. I try to throw myself into things knowing nothing at all, learn it as I go, and pull it off, man. Yeah, exactly. And so, again, just to reiterate that point, stop sitting there worrying about you not feeling ready or you're not feeling confident. You don't wait for confidence and the feeling of readiness to just magically come up and give you a kiss on the lips. You've got to make sure that you are taking action in the face of that to earn the right to feel confident, to earn the right to feel like you know what you're doing at some stage. And then I hope to God that when you feel slightly confident and comfortable in that realm, you kick the doors down and you go to the next level and put yourself in a position where you feel like you got no freaking clue again. That is called evolution, baby. Right. That's called growth. That's what we want to do here at Relentless.
That's it. I've with our family, I was thinking the other day, I'm like, all right, I've kind of got my business running well, and we're in this beautiful house and we're in the Sunshine Coast and everything's stable to a certain degree. We've had some ups and downs with my beautiful wife's pregnancy's been challenging at different points, and then I was thinking to myself the other day, I'm like, oh yeah, like there's going to be a whole other child here in like 2 months. It's going to be game on again.
Yes.
But
talk about a sucker for punishment for getting outside your comfort zone.
Lavars. But that's what you want, I think. I've spoken to people about this, and people have said to me, what should I do? Should I, I don't want to have too much going on. And I think that there's something to be said for definitely having boundaries in your life and learning how to take care of yourself so you can take care of others. But I also think a good thing and a good idea is to give yourself as many challenges as you can possibly handle and see if you can pull it off. See if you can rise to the occasion and become the person that's worthy of the success that you want.
I agree, bro. And I'll quickly add to that. I mean, man, you're talking to the converted. I completely back that, and I've lived my life like that pretty much as long as I can remember. But I also think that if you don't have that foundation of energy and health cemented, it's going to be very hard for you to step up and start taking on a whole bunch of stress in different facets of life to the level where you're going to see huge change. And I know I'm going to digress a little bit here because we are talking about mindset, etc. But I really feel like if you are determined to be the best version of you and you really want to take your life to the next level in 2023, it has to start with you looking after you and making sure that your energy's on point, making sure that your mindset and nutrition is on point, your movement is on point. Because without that, if you're breaking down, halfway through the day and you're just drained and you're tired and you're so tired all the time that any bit of stress just completely throws you into overwhelm, well, it's a losing battle, isn't it? So, again, this is why we were speaking about before the foundations of health and fitness, because we know the impact it's had on our lives to make us the men that we are today.
Yeah, I think that one of the things we'll do on upcoming episodes is spend a bunch of time talking about, I don't know if that's my son again. Hey, buddy. How you doing? Hi. He's coming back in? Daddy's just doing the podcast thing. What's up?
So sorry.
Oh, it's okay. That's all right.
I don't even realize.
Hey, just say hello.
Hey,
He's back.
Hello. Producer,
That actually sounded like a hello.
Yeah, I was saying.
Bye. Bye.
Yeah.
There you go. That's life.
And then soon we're going to have 2 producers coming
Soon
in
we're going to have 2.
at 5.
So, what was I saying?
We're going to talk in future
About health.
episodes about health, yeah.
Yeah, we'll do
Health,
some
fitness,
stuff
energy.
around weight training and nutrition. And one of the things that I wanted to bring up, which I think is really important, something that we do a lot of, we truly believe in, is standing on the shoulders of giants.
Yeah.
One of the things that I think is really important is you can learn from 2 different avenues. So in life, you can learn from personal experience and you can learn from wisdom. And sometimes it's good to go learn a bunch of stuff through personal experience, right? Just like, for example, this might sound really weird, but where I live right now is the first time that I've had a backyard and a front yard that I've been responsible for, right? So through a bit of trial and error, I'm learning how to like mow the lawns properly and do the whippersnippering and stuff like that. And, you know, I haven't really bothered to watch any videos on it because, you know, it's a lack of little consequence and who cares if I make a mistake? I'm kind of just enjoying the process and I'm having a good time and I'm learning it through personal experience.
Yeah.
But when something's really important, learn through wisdom. Like, learn through other people first. And then you can skip a bunch of mistakes that you don't have to make. Like, for example, how much have you and I studied around sales and marketing? Right?
A lot.
How much?
Many an hour.
How much have we invested in mentors and masterminds and trainings and education and learn from some of the best people around the world to be able to get insights in how we run business? And one of the things that I see happening all the time is people making business decisions a lot, because I see it in business mentoring, but people do it in life. They make business decisions, they make life decisions purely based on their emotions. They just like, I feel like this is a good idea. And unless you're choosing what type of food to eat, which is fine, just make the decision based on how you feel. Like if it didn't work out, you can just not eat it again. But if you're about to make an investment in a business or choose your niche or work out how to put together a sales funnel, or if we talk about relationships, you want to work out your parenting style and you're not doing education, I think the problem is either 2 things. Either your ego is too big, and that's a problem because you think that you know the answers to everything. And I think wisdom is appreciating how much you don't know and then appreciating the constant gap that you have to try and close. Or maybe you just like are rebelling against help and support and you just feel like you need to do it on your own. Like it's like, or maybe it's like ignorance. You don't know that you could reach out and work it out from other people. But man, I just see people making decisions based on their emotions so often without getting some information from people that, and this is the simple criteria, has the results that you want. Like this is true and it's hilarious. That one of my friends that I grew up with, she had a brother, and her brother was flat broke, right? Like he'd never made a dime ever, and he was in debt. And he wrote a book on how to make money. Why? That's so dumb.
That's what we call toxic optimism.
Right. But like the basic question, do you have the results that I want to achieve? And then, you know, it's obvious to see it in today's world. You can just look someone up, you look up their website or whatever, you know, you look up their stuff and you go, all right, this person has the results that I want. They've got some good information. I'm going to learn from them. They probably know more than I know on the topic. So I'm just going to shut up and listen, and I'm going to learn. And I find a lot of people find that real hard to do these days.
Absolutely, man. I mean, that's one of my decision-making criteria when I work with anybody at a work level, when I'm hiring someone, or if I am, looking for a tribe or a mentor. It's what the fuck have you done? I don't really care about what you're saying right now. What have you actually done? And so, look, again, I love sharing these points of how to truly become relentless, because I'll go back to the point we made at the start. You can learn how to do this if you stay humble, number one, if you believe that it's a learned behavior, and if you're willing to have the discipline to consistently apply the things that we're talking about here. And so just on that point of standing on the shoulders of giants, there was a moment, I can't remember exactly when this was in my career, but I just realized there was so much that I didn't fucking know. I knew that there was so much to learn, and I had to completely just submit to that and humble myself to that in order to learn from the very best people that I could find, or the very best books that I could find on the very best people that I could find. And so many in my career, I've faced a lot of challenges. I've had a lot of wins and a lot of great things happen. I've had a lot of failures and challenges and things that I wish didn't happen. But I couldn't have continued to step up and go through that and better myself all the way through if I didn't have certain people that I look to, whether I know them or not. Some mentors I absolutely know, and I cherish them so much, and I owe them so much just having them in my space. And then there's also people in the world that have achieved incredible things that I've read about them, and I've read their books, and I know their story. And their story alone has helped, is a version of me standing on the shoulders of giants, because I can look at what they did and the adversity that they faced, and then look at my situation with perspective and say, hey, they're human. If they can do it, and we've come from similar backgrounds, then I can do it. I know I can do it. And so just so you're aware, standing on the shoulders of giants doesn't mean you have to put down 100K to speak to someone. It means finding people that have walked the path and learning about their beliefs, their mindset, how they did it, the challenges that they face, getting great mentors, getting the right people around you in order to guide you through those battles.
Yeah, 100%, man. I couldn't agree more with you on that one. One of the things that you said that I think is important to kind of unpack is making mistakes and how we make mistakes. One of the questions that I asked just to get people thinking about this is, what would you do if you knew you couldn't fail? Which is an interesting question, because it's creating a situation that's actually impossible. But what would you do if you knew you just couldn't fail? And the answer is always the same. People say, I would do everything. Everything I ever thought about doing, I would do it, right? But the interesting thing about that question is that it's not about avoiding failure. It's about how you deal with failure. It's about how, we can reframe the word. People say there's no failure, there's only feedback, which is awesome. That's a really functional way of looking at failure. But regardless if you call the word failure or feedback or mistakes or whatever name you give it, let's just say making a mistake, right? You put out some content and it sucks. You build a business model and it flops. You let down a client. You say the wrong thing to your friend, your wife, your husband. You make a mistake. Now, the mistakes are inevitable. And I think if you live your life in a way where you are trying to avoid mistakes, then the consequence of that one is severe, because you have to play real small. If you're avoiding mistakes,
exactly.
You could never start a new business if you want to avoid making mistakes. You could never ask a girl out on a date. You couldn't. I remember when I asked my wife to marry me, there was a part of me that was like, it's just like so much commitment,
Yeah.
And it was scary, but it was, it's one of the best things that I've ever done. So I think we need to understand that one's success is inevitable. And I'd love your thoughts on this next bit. One of the things that I think is important from a coaching perspective is understanding the difference between I'm a mistake versus I made a mistake. And I think that some people get wrapped up in that like toxic kind of shame, like, you know, and this is where you might need to, you know, go and do some coaching around it or something. But there's a big difference between I messed this up, therefore I'm worthless, I'm nothing, I'm a loser, compared to I messed this up, got to learn from it, got to go again, you know. And I think that's where forgiveness plays a really important role. It's like, I got to get back up again. I got to keep on going. What's the lesson? All right, let me adapt. Let's keep on going. I think that's a super important part, because otherwise you move away from mistakes, and I think when you move away from them, you move away from success. Interestingly.
Yeah, I agree, man. I think the whole point of that question, what would you do if you knew you couldn't fail? I think the whole point of that is to chunk yourself up to such an epic vision without the barriers of failure there, because so many people are making decisions on their goals and on their vision, on their dreams and on their business future based on such a restricted mentality of these limiting beliefs that aren't real. They think they can't do this, or they could never achieve this. And so I love that question, just to chunk people up high enough to actually create something worth fighting for. Because I tell you right now, if you've got a shit vision or a lame goal, you're not gonna face adversity for that. You're not gonna wake up early for that. You're not going to have tough conversations for that. So you've got to chunk up and create an epic vision in order to fight for it daily. But again, on the topic of failure and how you perceive that and the perspective of that, yes, we all fucking fail. And one of the things, back to our first point, standing on the shoulders of giants, if you do that step, that principle, if you live that principle and you read about the best and you learn about the best, you will immediately learn those are the lords and the goats and the dudes and the dudesses that fail the most. These are the people that fail a lot. But the difference between them and the normal human or the average person that doesn't step up and achieve more is that they take those lessons, they sit there and they truly work through making sure that they mitigate those risks for the next time around. And guess what? They get back up and they fight another day, even in the face of feeling like a loser and being criticized and being embarrassed and feeling shame and all of those things. They feel it and they get the fuck up and they do it again anyway.
They do it again, yeah. It's a really important thing. That reminded me of one of the Proverbs, without a vision, the people will perish.
I love that one.
Yeah. And I think it's kind of like without direction, you just get depressed. There's nothing... There's nothing to do. You have to have something to build and move towards in life, no matter what that is. And I think what a lot of the time we do is we set small goals. Our goals are too small, like you were saying, because of limits that we have. And, you know, one of the things that we share, we laugh about this, but I grew up in Geelong. My family comes from Ballarat. You grew up in Ballarat. It's like we kind of come from these like
3350, baby.
These like country town, you know, like we didn't get born in the city, you know, we come from like middle class families, you know, both of us didn't really crush it at school at all. You know, we had challenges around that. But I think one of the things that really helped me is I just got inspired by other people. You know, and it's one of the other things I wanted to talk about, just before we kind of finish up in the next 10 or so minutes. Like, you got to choose who you hang around with. Because I think that, you know, I know that this is like a saying, I think Jim Rohn said this, it's like you are the sum of the 5 people that you spend the most amount of time with.
Yeah.
But it's amazingly important to ask yourself, who are your influences? Who are you letting influence you on a regular basis? Whose books do you read? Whose podcasts do you listen to? Whose whose circles are you allowing to influence you? One of the benefits of having a positive influence is hopefully you can have your vision stretched by other people, and you either that you know directly or that you know indirectly, like you were saying, you've just read their books or something like that. Because, like, for example, My mum was a single mum for the most of the time when she raised me, and all the power to her. And she's awesome. I know that we went through struggling times as a family, and so when I was a kid, I didn't really have an example of a functional, married for a long period of time family, good work life balance. Like, I didn't have that. So when I was a kid, it wasn't even a goal. Like, I didn't even know it existed. I knew that I wanted something, but I had no idea what it could be until I started meeting people that had achieved it. You know, people that have been married for 50 years, people that have been married for 22 years and have great work-life balance, and they do well financially, and they spend time with their kids. The wife and the husband love each other. Right? They're not just like living extremely dysfunctionally like most people are. People that are in business and love their business. You know, like I always remember thinking it was real weird in Australia, that culture of like bagging out, not liking work. You know,
Right.
like it's like, oh man, you know, another 5 days of work. I remember thinking of that even as a boy and just thinking, that can't be it, yeah? Like, that can't just be what we've all signed up for. There's got to be something else. And I had no one. Yeah. And then I started meeting people that had that stuff. And as soon as I started meeting them, I was just like, okay, if it's possible for you, there's a big gap between where you're at and where I'm at right now. But obviously you closed it somehow. So I'm committing to close it. I'm going to see if I can close that gap.
Yeah, I agree, man. Absolutely. So, look, I think that who you surround yourself is so freaking important. And honestly, it could be the difference that makes a difference in absolute success or failure. Because, again, I think this is such an important message to get out there. If you're in the journey of business, I mean, this is predominantly a business podcast and what we love to talk about. If you are in business and you're serious about this game of entrepreneurship, and you are wanting to create success for your family and your future and legacy, do not go into this thinking that it is going to be rainbows and lollipops and that it's always going to be cash flow positive and no stress. And I'm telling you right now, we are modern day fucking Spartans. It is the hardest game to play on earth. You have to face every challenge, from your darkest demons to your customers' darkest demons, to the government, to societal changes, to economic changes, to production changes. Whatever game you're in, there is just constant peaks and troughs, ebbs and flows, pivot to this, pivot to that. And so understand that you have to be in this game motivated by a greater vision. You have to have a tribe of people around you that inspire you to get back up when you get knocked down. Because I'm telling you right now, you will get knocked down. Don't think for a second you won't. And stop wishing shit was going to be easy, because this game is not easy. Just get that in your head right now as you begin this journey, or if you're in the journey, you're going to be feeling what I'm putting down here. This is not an easy game. Stop fucking wishing it was. Start now just applying and committing to being better, wishing that you were better, and then executing on that every damn day. And further to that, stop wishing that you were going to make it in the next 6 weeks to 12 weeks to 12 months even. You know, one of our great mentors, play the long game. Remember, one of our great mentors, Sharon Pearson, said to me years ago, you know, I shared a great win with her, and then she said, yeah, awesome, really blunt, made me feel like shit after it. She's got
like, where's the next level?
Yeah, that's all. She's just like, yeah, cool. Do that for another 10 years and then come and talk to me. I was like, oh, okay. And the lesson in that is that it's that consistency long term that is going to give you the wins, guys, not the short term gratification that so many people are chasing right now. So again, there's a lot in there, but it all comes back to your point, man. You got to surround yourself with great people that are going to help you get through those challenging moments and keep you rising in the face of it all.
I just want to unpack what you just said, because Sharon, she's now changed her name to Remy, who's been a massive impact from a business perspective and coaching for both of us in different ways. And she's just crushed it in business over nearly 20 years. I had a very similar moment with her where I had done something that I was extremely proud of and was working hard for a long period of time. And I think it was around running a webinar, selling from a webinar or something like that. And did it. And I remember chatting with her and I was like, I remember feeling 10 feet high and I was like, I did it. Like I'm the king. Yeah. And I remember her response was something like, congratulations. You are now 5% of your potential.
Yes.
And I remember thinking to myself, that's cool. I like that. I think it's important when you win to stay humble and know that there's another level. Like it's one of the things that I like talking about is how I think pride is dangerous. And what I mean by that is don't be too proud of be proud of yourself, right? Like, crush it and be like, pat on the back, I did well. But if you let your ego get the better of you, like I remember 5 years ago as a speaker, I had some people saying stuff to me like, "Oh, you're like the best speaker, I've ever heard. Like you're the best." And I think I don't even think I'm that good. Like I think I'm okay. I can do the job. I can deliver. Do you know what I mean? Like, and I mean humbly. Like I know I can deliver a result, but I know I'm not the best freaking speaker in the entire planet. But there was a moment there where my ego was like, "Yeah, maybe I'm the best."
Yeah. You drink your own Kool-Aid sometimes.
That's it. And I think at that moment you stop learning, and that's the problem. When you think you can't learn something from someone else, you're dead.
Brother,
you got to keep on staying humble.
So true, man. And that's, pride. It's one of the 7 deadly sins and one of the most, when they say it's a deadly sin, it's actually real. Is, especially in business. But man, I often share that lesson with entrepreneurs and I share it with so much passion because on your entrepreneurial journey, you are going to start climbing the ranks and creating awesome success. And when you start to do that, do not get ahead of yourself in regards to believing the hype. You need to recognize it and utilize it resourcefully so you can up level and move forward. But man, stay fucking humble. Don't drink the Kool-Aid and think that you could never be defeated. You really need to, and hopefully people listen to that from both of us and learn from our mistakes where you will hit your stride at points. And if you do drink your own Kool-Aid too much, that is when you're opening yourself up to massive threats and massive failure. And so, humility in business and in life is just such a valuable tool and a lesson hopefully everyone can learn and take away from this episode.
Yeah, it's a great way to kind of start wrapping things up is to really just think about the importance of how much we don't know, even if you have a level of success. So Andy and I have been in business. How long have you been in business for now? So I've been in business for about 15 years.
Yeah, so about 15 to 16 years, something like that.
You had to beat me.
Yeah, I was always going to do at least 1 year more.
Whatever you said, plus one more year.
Only because I'm super humble.
That's it. So, and I think, in that time we've both had ups and downs, but we're in great places. Business-wise, we don't worry about where money's coming from. We're doing fantastic and thinking about how we can add more value to others, which is super fun. But man, do we have so much more to learn. And I think that I think what's more important is having an excitement around what there is to learn. Instead of where I think some people have this whole doom and gloom thing where it's like, oh, I've got so much I need to learn. You know, like, oh, I've got to learn about sales. I've got to learn about marketing. And then at the same time, I've got to learn about relationships. And you could have the exact same problems, but it could sound like, man, I can't wait to learn out how to get this sales funnel pumping. I can't wait to get more scripts. I can't wait to be able to learn how to speak to my wife or my kids or connect with them in a better way. You know, and I think that kind of comes down to that conundrum between a fixed mindset or a growth mindset. It's like if you have a fixed mindset and you literally believe that just like the place that you're in right now is the place you're always going to be in and you can't change it, then that's extremely anxiety producing. But if you have a growth mindset, if you're aware that you can just learn some stuff, you can do some education, you can sign up for some courses, you can read some books, you can download some podcasts, you can educate yourself. And then as you do that, you can get better at whatever these things are that you're doing. Then it's exciting. I just get pumped. What are we going to learn next? What else can we do? It's exciting to live that way.
Yeah, and you have to if you want to be great in any aspect, but especially in business. The day you decide to stop learning is the day your career is over. Full stop. You are the world is moving so quickly. Marketing is moving so quickly. Finance, sales is moving so quickly. Technology is moving so quickly. You have to be committed to relentless learning every single freaking day. Relentless education, Seed, is the only way. And so,
there we
look,
go.
100%. And so, again, being part of having that relentless mentality and mindset is all of the things we've just discussed and so much more. But, as we mentioned, it is a learned behavior. And if you're committed to learning, if you're committed to growing, surrounding yourself with the right people, earning that right to feel a level of confidence and certainty, brick by brick, application of challenge through application of challenge, then you will start to see massive momentum. And again, brother, that's what we're here to do. That's what we're here to teach and preach. But we're not doing this just via talking. And this is one thing that I respect about you so much, Matt, and one thing that I strive to do every single day is that I try to live my life through actions and showing people rather than just talking. And every day, it's such an honor and a gift to be able to do that. And I'm actually freaking excited about actioning so many more awesome things over the coming months and year. We're through the mindset of proving ourselves and challenging ourselves and forcing ourselves to evolve at a rate that we've never experienced before. And it's awesome to be on the journey with you, bro.
100%, man. Right back at you. One of the things that I think we'll probably have to do a whole podcast on is being motivated not just by character building, which is kind of what this podcast has been about. It's about building up your character as a man or a woman to be able to be the best person that you possibly can so you can be, do, have, give the things that you want to do inside life. But I think one of the things that's really important is like being a person of service to your market. Like, be so good and put in all this extra effort so then you can help in the best possible way. One of the things that we talk about inside the Game Changers Mastermind, the MVP group mentoring program that we've got, is like, be the best. Make a commitment to be the best. If you're a personal trainer, be the best personal trainer. Like, put in the effort. You want to be a coach? Be the best coach. You want to be a relationship coach? Be the best relationship coach. You want to be a dad? Be the best dad. Like, whatever it is that you're doing, actually aim to be a really good one. Yeah. Not just because you just arrive, but because you put in the effort. And then if you give the most amount of value, success is inevitable. Like, it's just coming for you because I think this is a quote from the Coaching Institute. If you take care of enough people's dreams, your dreams will be taken care of. Yeah. And that's gold. But that's a message for a whole other podcast coming up.
Absolutely. Bro, it's been a blast. I feel like the message has been delivered. I feel like the very first Relentless podcast has been laid down for the masses. We did it.
We only had an interruption from my son twice.
Hey, you know what? He did it well. He
did
committed.
great.
He committed and he saw it through, and that's why we love him.
I think he actually said hello for the first time. I've never heard him say.
Saw it here.
I'm pretty sure he was like, hello.
A world premiere, exactly right. World premiere right here. But brother, it's been an absolute blast. We've got a lot more of these coming up. We've got so much to give and share with everybody listening and watching. So we hope you've enjoyed it. We hope that you share this. We hope that you pass these lessons on to others as well. And we'd love for you to share this podcast. We do this out of love and passion. So the more that we can see you sharing it and passing on to others, it means the world to us.
Yeah, 100%. If you want to get involved in anything that we've got going on, we'll always have information underneath the podcast or Spotify, wherever you're listening, to be able to get involved with our business group mentoring programs, or maybe you want to get along at one of the Change Labs locations, or check out the TV show. Everything you need is always going to be underneath the podcast, and it's been a blast.
It's been an absolute blast. So until next time, stay relentless. Stay relentlessly optimistic, but of course, have the discipline to consistency, step up, face your fears, and face adversity. And I promise you, on the other side of that fear is the business, the life you've always dreamed of. Matty Lavars, we'll see you on the next episode of the Relentless Podcast. See you, my friend.